Welcome to a 2-year user review of the 85mm gmaster. Over 2 years of use, over 400 photo and video sessions, and coming close to 100,000 photos. There are 3 things that I love about this lens, and they are based in the extremes. The first thing is depth of field. Extreme shallow depth of field, especially apparent on full body shots. The second thing I love about it is the soft, buttery, smooth bokeh. The out of focus areas are just beautiful. And the number 3 thing I love about it is the character. Incredibly sharp, starting at f2 2.8, and it competes with even the Batis 135 as far as sharpness goes at 2.8. And a side note, I don't really manual focus that often or focus pull in video. As far as fly-by-wire lenses go, this is the best manual focusing lens that I have found. And now for the dislikes, and I'm going to follow these dislikes up with how I mitigate them to keep the lens in my kit and not sell it. The first dislike is slow focusing. Now what I mean by slow focusing, when it gets focused, it's incredibly accurate, but it hunts. Every camera body and lens combination will hunt at some point. The problem with the 85 is it's such a slow focuser so that when it does hunt, it can feel like it takes eternity depending on the situation. How I mitigate the slow focusing is, after years of using this lens, I know what it can and can't do and how it sort of behaves under certain conditions, and I don't ask it to do anything that I know it can't do. I'll switch to the Batis 135, which is another telephoto, a little longer, so I'll have to take a step back sometimes. It has much faster focusing, sort of an athlete. Other things I'm going to do to mitigate this, because I'm primarily an 85mm lens shooter with my work that I do, I'm going to be adding the Batis 85 to my kit as well while keeping the gmaster. The number 2 thing I don't like about it is the weight. It's not bad for regular shoots, but when you start getting the 6, 7, 8, 10-hour wedding days, then this extra weight being held up, I think of it like this. It's 2 pounds times 6 hours. So that adds up to be a lot. So if I had a Batis 85, for example, on, it would be 1 pound of weight for 6 hours. I don't know if my math is correct, but I'm pretty sure that's 50% less weight. Again, not a big deal on the small or short shoots, but it can be a real huge factor for long-term usage. Event photography, forget it. Just go something lighter. The number 3 dislike is the Aperture Ring. I know most people absolutely love this thing and they brag about how amazing it is. It's not so awesome. So what I do is I use a belt and pouch system, and I change my lens a lot, in and out. And whenever I pull this dude out of the pouch, it's constantly going from automatic, being able to let me control my f-stop or my aperture from the camera, which I do all the time. And if it switches over, it goes right to f16. And absolutely one of the most annoying things in the world. On the other G-Master lenses, they have made it a lot better. So as a clickable, the click is much stronger, a little bit harder to pull it out, but it still happens. So I end up still, before I shoot a wedding, I'll tape both of these guys up to make sure that it stays in auto mode on the lens. And then moving forward to the other thing is autofocus, manual focus. I have the same problem with that. It'll get flipped sometimes, and it'll take me just a few seconds to figure it out during a shoot or during a moment, and super frustrating. And I have that assigned to a button on the back of my camera. So the quick and easy fix, how to mitigate that, is gaffer's tape, and tape it over that, and you'll be all set. The side focus button, hold button, is nice to have. The downside to that is if I'm shooting horizontal, great. If I go to a vertical pose, the button is missing, so I'd have to try to change my grip. So I don't bother with it. I just program something on the back of my camera for back button focus hold, and that's how I mitigate or solve that. So essentially, I would like to just turn this into a Batis lens where there's absolutely nothing on it, so I don't accidentally click anything. The 4th thing that I struggle with is the price of it. For me, it makes sense because I make a ton of money with this 85mm focal length, as well as shoot for photo and video. Also, it's my favorite length. It's my favorite length. I shoot 80–90% of the time with the 85mm. So it makes a lot of sense for me to have this. But you're definitely going to be paying a couple of bucks for this thing. I got mine used for around 1,500 bucks a couple of years ago. If you're lucky, you could probably get something used in the $1,300 or $1,400 range these days, so worth considering. And that brings me up to recommendations. Recommendations for a low budget professional grade kit would be at the 85mm. It would be an 85 1.8 FE, maybe paired up with the 35 1.8 or the 28 f2 on an A7 III. You can do a lot of damage with that. I would feel totally comfortable with going to a wedding and just destroying it with photo and video, just those two lenses. The next lens up would be the Batis lens 85, the one I'm adding to my kit on top of the G-Master that I already have. In-body stabilization and focusing speed and the weight savings. Just perfectly right in the middle. What you're letting go of, what you're not getting with the Batis, are the extremes of super depth of field, the background out of focus area you'll need to be able to live with. Sometimes it gets busy in nature, but I'm looking forward to really using that a lot this next wedding season. And then the next would be something like the 85 G-Master, or maybe a Sigma art lens counterpart to get you to that 1.4. The Sigmas are incredibly heavy and huge. Not interested in that at all. If you're like me and you make a lot of money with this focal length, it's your favorite focal length, and you can mitigate those problems of the lens like I did or in your own way, then grab this lens all day long. So in closing, I'm just gonna sort of ramble a little bit. I've paired this 85 up with my 24 for the last year. And the year prior to that, I had the 85 pair with a 24 to 70 G-Master, and that covered a lot of my needs. Right now, I'm currently running the Batis 135. Right underneath that, of course, the G-Master 85-1.4. I have the 50mm 1.8 Plastic Fantastic, which is actually being used right now on my body. And then under that, I have the 24mm 1.4 G-Master. And that is serving me quite well. I'm adding the 85 Batis. I'm also looking at the 40 Batis and also the 18mm Batis. I'm gonna do another video on the whole Batis line. It makes a whole lot more sense when I look at the bell curve and the design of the Batis. But for right now, those 4 lenses are serving my needs. Also, my partner Jessica shoots often with the complementary lenses to my 24-85mm kit. She shoots a 16 to 35 G-Master, a 50mm 1.4 Sony Zeiss, and also a 135mm G-Master 1.8. So when we're shooting a wedding, we're almost working different focal lengths. Because I'm shooting on an A7R3, so the bigger sensor camera allows me to crop in post, and I have no shame in cropping in post. I actually enjoy it. This thing truly is a battle axe, and I've been able to make a lot of money with it, and it really makes my images stand out because of those extreme reasons. And even though I hate it, sometimes I want to body slam it on the ground, when I get home in post-production and I look at the images, 99% of the time I just fall back in love with it. If you're interested in seeing another video using a 24-85mm combo portrait session, there'll be a link in the description below. My name is Michael Von Pick, my partner's name is Jessica R. Bunger, and we both operate a studio called evokestudio.io. Find us on social media or our website at evokestudio.io. I'll see you soon.